Hey everyone, greetings from a very, very wet and dingy Kent. I wanted to speak today about triggering and being triggered. I hopped on my Facebook today, and it's not something I really post on much these days, but I do look at a few things here and there. And I saw something that's become all too familiar for me over the last 2 years, which is seeing somebody post something up and then seeing somebody react to that post quite intensely, triggered, if you like, by what that person had posted up. And, the person that was sharing is somebody that I have observed and felt to be someone that has shared from their heart most of the time. And I didn't get the sense that they were professing what they were saying as some kind of truth, but it was just kind of putting something out there that they were exploring, they were seeing. And I noticed the reaction that it got from somebody else, and it was really quite intense. And I was like, wow, look at that. When we're triggered, what I can see is that we've made up something that we wholeheartedly believe is true. And then when we're faced with something that seems to contradict that, the notion that there might even be an ounce of truth to that is so difficult for us and so uncomfortable for us to admit or even entertain, particularly if we have built up so many other ideas on top of that one that is now being challenged. We face not only having to go, oh, maybe that was wrong, but maybe all the other things that I've built on top of that are also not so right too. But yet we kind of have to keep our hearts and minds open. I don't speak much about this, but when I was really ill all those years ago, some of you might know, if you've listened to my story, that Linda and I were not actually together at that point. And, Linda was pregnant with Max. And I didn't see Max born. And, there was a lot of animosity between the two of us because what we went through was incredibly intense. I was very, very unwell. And here we were sort of pregnant with our firstborn. And it was like our whole world was collapsing. And, we ended up apart. And at one point I was really convinced that we probably weren't going to get back together. And it was very hard at the time for me to entertain any of Linda's perspective. I couldn't see it. Now, partly that was because I was so unwell and I had no resources to be able to entertain different perspectives. So I was desperately clinging on to my idea, my perspective, because I just hadn't got the bandwidth to entertain it. But as I made some kind of recovery, and, we ended up going through a form of therapy at the time, couples therapy at the time, I had to begin to entertain that my perspective, my idea of what was true, was perhaps not the whole story. And that there was actually truth on Linda's side as well, that there was things that legitimately looked to be true to her, and that I hadn't even entertained those whatsoever, just because I hadn't been able to, and nor had she. She hadn't been able to either. So there was a real meeting of the minds at that point when we began to see, oh, okay, there's truth in all of our perspectives. Now, I feel like at some point, some of us, and I would include myself at times, have lost that perspective. We've lost the ability to see that truth is everywhere. Truth on some level is available at every level of consciousness. And so when we're being triggered, what's going on from what I can see is we have desperately clung to an idea that we believe to be true. And when we're faced with it, the possibility there may be another part to it, there may be something we don't see, it becomes so dreadfully uncomfortable that we react. Maybe we judge, maybe we label that person, say they're crazy or whatever. But I don't know that that's helpful. And I don't know that we ever, I think this is where I've come to, and I've said this to a few people, I don't know that we ever come to a full perspective of the truth. Certainly not while I'm incarnate in this body. Like, my understanding of the world is always going to be an abstraction of what's true. I'm only ever seeing a perspective. No matter how much I try and keep my heart and mind open, I'm only ever seeing a perspective. And so, knowing that to be true, I have found myself over the last couple of years more and more going into a space of seeing, you know what, I can have my ideas, I can have my perspectives, I can have my sense of what I think is true, but the real truth from what I can see is that really, I don't know. I just don't know the full picture. I don't know what's true and what's not. And that doesn't mean I can't have ideas. But the more I'm willing, the more we are willing, from what I can see, to entertain the possibility that we can be uncomfortable when we don't know. It keeps our hearts and minds open. It keeps us in more of a space where we can have a meeting of minds with people and see the positive intention behind why they might think certain things or why they might cling to certain ideas. And I think that's incredibly important right now, to try and bring people together in that way and seeing what's really behind it. You see, we live in this world that has told us it's bad to be uncomfortable. The minute we get uncomfortable, we have been told, no, you mustn't feel that way. You've got to feel good. You've got to, make it feel better. But that is disempowering, because we now lose the muscle of being able to sit in discomfort. And there is going to be discomfort when we're faced with things that challenge our sense of what is true. So if that's going on for you, this is my invitation to you. If you get triggered by something, and we all will at times, because we all hold on to ideas, like, notice it. Get curious about it. Why are you so bothered to hold on to your perspective? What is it that you think you can't cope with if you entertain the other perspective? My guess is it's that you don't realize that on some level you can sit in the discomfort of that and potentially adapt to a new truth. I'm not going to say the truth, but a new truth, because again, what we'll end up seeing by entertaining another person's perspective is another version of the truth. But like I said, do we ever know the full picture? Do we ever know everything? No. But notice, when you get triggered, my bet is what's going on is that you've made up something that if you entertain that it might be wrong or might not be the whole picture, let's put it that way, it's going to feel so uncomfortable and you don't know how to cope with it. What if you do? What if you're more than capable of being with that discomfort? What if you're more than capable of adapting to that and finding a new way of being? I'm not saying you have to take on board what other people say. What I am saying is, if you can see that you're capable of being in that discomfort when you're triggered, you can keep an open mind and you can start to see things anew in a way that is fresh for you. And we are able to keep more of a respect for other people as they see things differently, as they go through the same process for themselves. So I hope that's helpful, and sending you lots of love and hopefully some sun for all of us at some point. Take care. Bye.